After my stroke, my son hired caregiver Rita. She seemed perfect. Then at 2 a.m. I heard her on the phone. The old lady can't speak. I've transferred $50,000 already. One more month and she'll be dead. She thought I couldn't understand, but I heard everything. What I did next made her scream. My name is Louise Mitchell and I am 68 years old. This is my story of survival, of fighting back when everyone thought I was helpless, and of how I brought down a monster who wore the mask of an angel. It started on a Tuesday morning in March. I was making breakfast, scrambling eggs at my stove, when the world suddenly tilted sideways. One moment I was standing. The next, I was on the floor, unable to move my right side, unable to speak. The words were in my head, screaming, but my mouth wouldn't form them. My neighbor Mrs. Chun found me 15 minutes later and called 911. At the hospital, the neurologist explained I'd had an ischemic stroke. The good news was I'd receive treatment quickly. The bad news was I'd need months of therapy and full-time care to recover. Your comprehension is intact, Dr. Patel told me gently. You understand everything. The speech will come back with therapy, but it takes time. Be patient with yourself. I tried to speak, to respond, but only frustrated sounds came out. Tears rolled down my face. My son Marcus arrived that evening with his wife Jennifer. Marcus is 42, a pharmaceutical sales rep who travels constantly. We'd never been especially close after his father died, but he was still my son. Mom, you'll need full-time care for at least 3 months, Marcus said, standing awkwardly at the foot of my bed. I can't do it with my travel schedule, and Jennifer has her career. We're hiring a professional caregiver. I wanted to protest, to say I could manage, but I couldn't form words. I could only nod. We've already contacted an agency, Jennifer added crisply. They're sending someone highly qualified. Don't worry about the cost. Something in her tone unsettled me, but I was helpless to argue. 3 days later, they drove me home. The house felt foreign. Everything was the same, but I wasn't. I walked with a cane, dragging my right leg. My right arm hung useless, and I couldn't speak beyond grunts and moans. The caregiver arrives in an hour, Marcus said. Her name is Rita Schultz. 15 years of experience, excellent references. You're in good hands. Rita arrived exactly on time. She was mid-40s, auburn hair in a neat bun, wearing cheerful flower print scrubs. Her smile was warm, her voice soft and soothing. Mrs. Mitchell, she said, kneeling beside me. I'm Rita. I know this is difficult, but we'll get through it together. You're going to get stronger every day. I promise. For the first month, Rita seemed like an angel sent from heaven. She was patient, kind, professional. She helped me with everything I could no longer do alone. Bathing, dressing, eating when my left hand was too shaky. She cooked nutritious meals, gave me medications on schedule, encouraged me through exercises. She drove me to physical therapy 3 times weekly, where I worked to regain movement. She took me to speech therapy twice weekly, where I struggled to relearn words that once came easily. Progress was painfully slow. You're doing wonderfully, Louise, Rita would say, using my first name like we were friends. I see improvement every single day. Marcus and Jennifer visited once during those first 2 weeks. They stayed exactly 20 minutes before Marcus got an urgent work call, and they left. Rita watched them go with an odd expression. Don't worry, she told me. You have me. I'm not going anywhere. I truly believed Rita was my salvation, the person who would help me reclaim my life. Then everything changed at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday night, 3 weeks and 4 days after Rita moved in. I'd woken needing the bathroom, a nightly occurrence. I could manage alone now with my walker, though it took time. As I slowly made my way back to my bedroom, I heard Rita's voice from her room. She was on the phone, speaking low, probably thinking I was asleep. I stopped in the hallway, heart pounding. Something in her tone made me freeze. It's going perfectly, Rita was saying. The old woman can't speak, can barely write. She moves so slowly she's practically bedridden. No one would believe her if she tried to tell them anything. My blood turned to ice. I've already transferred $50,000 from her accounts, Rita continued, smiling evident in her voice. Online banking was almost too easy. She keeps passwords in a notebook in her desk like a fool. I've got access to everything. Savings, investments, even the life insurance. I gripped my walker, knuckles white. No, Marcus doesn't suspect anything. He's too busy with work and screwing his secretary. And that wife of his just wants Louise in a nursing home so they can sell this house. Jennifer. Rita was talking about Jennifer. Give me another month, 6 weeks tops, Rita said casually. I'll gradually increase the dose, make it look like natural deterioration. Another stroke, heart failure, something unsuspicious. Death certificate will say natural causes. By the time anyone checks finances, we'll be gone with close to $200,000. We. She said we. Yes, baby, I promise, Rita cooed. Next year we'll be on a beach in Costa Rica. No one will find us. This is the perfect score. She laughed, low and cruel, then ended the call. I stood frozen in that hallway, mind racing, heart pounding. Rita was stealing from me. Rita was planning to kill me. And she had a partner. And Jennifer wanted me institutionalized. I needed to reach my room before Rita found me. Using every ounce of strength, I moved as quietly as possible with my walker. Each step felt eternal. Finally, I reached my bedroom and closed the door with shaking hands. I sat on my bed, mind spinning. What could I do? I couldn't speak. I could barely write. My right hand was useless and my left hand clumsy. I couldn't call police because I couldn't talk. I couldn't leave alone. I couldn't drive. I was trapped with a woman planning my murder. But Rita had made one critical mistake. She'd underestimated me completely. Before my stroke, I'd been a legal secretary for 35 years. I knew how systems worked. I knew about documentation, evidence, building cases. And just because I couldn't speak didn't mean my brain wasn't sharp. Rita thought I was helpless. She thought I was a confused old woman who couldn't fight back. She was about to learn how wrong she was. The next morning, I acted completely normal. When Rita came to help me dress, I smiled and made my usual appreciative sounds. When she gave me breakfast and medications, I took them without question, though now I watched carefully which pills she gave me, wondering if she'd already started poisoning me. How are you feeling today, Louise? Rita asked with that warm smile I now recognized as utterly fake. I gave her a thumbs up with my left hand, the gesture of a trusting, helpless patient. Perfect. That afternoon while Rita was doing laundry, I carefully made my way to my home office. Before the stroke, this had been my sanctuary, where I'd worked on cases and managed my finances. Now it felt like a war room. I sat at my computer and opened my bank accounts. My heart sank. Rita had been telling the truth. Over the past 3 weeks, there had been multiple transfers. $5,000 here, $8,000 there, $12,000 to another account. Always amounts small enough not to trigger immediate fraud alerts, but totaling exactly $50,000. The transfers went to an account under the name R. Sullivan, probably Rita's real name or an alias. I tried to type a message to send an email to the bank, but my left hand was too clumsy on the keyboard. What came out was gibberish, helping me Estiel and Moni. Frustrated tears filled my eyes, but I forced them back. Crying wouldn't help. I needed to think strategically. I couldn't type well. I couldn't write clearly. I couldn't speak. But I could still think. And I could still use technology in other ways. I picked up my cell phone. Thankfully, I could manage it with my left hand. I opened the voice recorder app. If I couldn't speak, I'd make Rita speak for me. That night at 2 a.m., I quietly left my bedroom and positioned myself in the hallway outside Rita's room with my phone recording. I didn't have to wait long. Rita's voice came through her door. Yeah, I'm telling you, this is the easiest money we've ever made. Louise is completely out of it. Today, she barely managed to walk to the bathroom. I'm thinking 3 more weeks, maybe 4. Then I'll give her the final dose, and it'll look like her heart just gave out. My hands trembled holding the phone, but I kept it steady. The son is clueless, Rita continued. He called today asking how his mom is doing. I told him she's declining, that we might need to consider memory care soon. He practically thanked me for the suggestion. Can you believe it? He wants to put her in a home so bad he'll believe anything. More talking, though I couldn't hear the other person's responses. The wife, Jennifer, she's in on it in her own way. Not the stealing, she doesn't know about that, but she definitely wants Louise gone. She actually asked me last week how much longer I thought Louise had. Not how is her recovery going, but how much longer. These people are vultures. Rita laughed. They'll inherit this house, which is worth at least $400,000. And they have no idea we're taking another $200,000 off the top. By the time they find out, we'll be untraceable. I recorded for another 10 minutes before Rita finally ended her call. I had everything I needed. Almost. The next day, while Rita was grocery shopping, I managed to log into my email on my phone. Slowly, painfully, using voice to text which barely worked with my slurred speech, I composed a message to my physical therapist, Sarah Chun. Sarah, help. Rita's stealing, call police, can't speak, recording, help me. It took 20 minutes to get those few words out clearly enough for the voice to text to understand. I attached the audio file of Rita's phone call and hit send just as I heard Rita's car pull into the driveway. But Sarah was on vacation. Her auto reply said she wouldn't return for another week. A week. I had to survive another week before anyone would see that message. I didn't know if I had that long. That evening, Rita made my dinner, chicken soup with vegetables. She watched me eat with that caring smile, and I wondered if this was the meal where she'd start increasing the dose of whatever poison she was using. I ate it anyway. I had no choice. If I refused food, she'd know I was suspicious. After dinner, Rita helped me to bed. As she tucked the blankets around me, she said softly, "You're such a sweet woman, Louise. You don't deserve what life has dealt you." The audacity of her words, the sheer evil of comforting someone you're planning to murder, made me want to scream. But I just smiled and patted her hand with my good one. "Sleep well," Rita said, turning off my light. I waited 2 hours after the house went quiet. Then I got up, grabbed my phone and walker, and made my way to the kitchen. I needed evidence. Real, concrete evidence beyond just audio recordings. Rita kept a large purse in the kitchen. I'd seen her put my medication bottles in there when we returned from the pharmacy. Why would she do that instead of leaving them in my medicine cabinet where they belonged? My hand shaking, I opened her purse. Inside, along with her wallet and keys, I found 5 prescription bottles, all in my name, all filled at my pharmacy. But the pills inside didn't match the labels. The bottle labeled blood pressure medication contained small white pills I didn't recognize. The bottle labeled cholesterol medication contained blue capsules completely different from what I'd been taking before my stroke. Rita was switching my real medications with something else. No wonder I'd been feeling increasingly weak and confused. She wasn't just planning to poison me eventually. She was already doing it. With my left hand, I carefully used my phone to photograph each bottle, the label, and the contents. Then I took photos of the inside of her purse, where I found a small notebook. Inside that notebook was a list of dates and dollar amounts, a handwritten record of every theft. There were also notes: increased dose today. Patient very drowsy. Patient fell twice. Excellent progress. 2 more weeks maximum. She was documenting my murder like a business transaction. I photographed every page, my hands shaking so badly some pictures were blurry, but I got them all. Then I carefully put everything back exactly as I'd found it. Getting back to my room took forever. Every step with my walker seemed loud enough to wake Rita. But I made it, closed my door, and collapsed on my bed, heart racing. I had evidence now. Audio recordings, photos of switched medications, photos of her theft records. But I still couldn't communicate it to anyone. Sarah wouldn't see my email for 6 more days. I couldn't call police because I couldn't speak. I couldn't write a clear note. I was sitting on a mountain of evidence with no way to show it to anyone who could help. That's when I remembered Mrs. Chun, my neighbor who'd found me after my stroke. She checked on me occasionally, though Rita usually shooed her away, saying I needed rest. The next morning, I pantomimed to Rita that I wanted to sit on the front porch. She hesitated. She usually kept me isolated inside. But I insisted, making it clear I was feeling cooped up. "All right, but just for a little while," Rita agreed. "The fresh air might do you good." She helped me outside and settled me in my porch chair. I sat there looking pathetic and helpless, which wasn't hard to fake. And I waited. 20 minutes later, I saw Mrs. Chun working in her garden. I waved frantically with my left hand. She saw me and walked over. "Louise, how wonderful to see you outside. How are you feeling?" Rita immediately appeared. "Oh, Mrs. Chun, that's so kind of you to check on her. Louise is doing well, but she tires easily. We really should get her back inside soon." But I grabbed Mrs. Chen's hand with surprising strength and held on. I looked directly into her eyes and made urgent sounds, pointing toward the house, trying to communicate danger. "Is everything all right?" Mrs. Chen asked, concerned. "She gets confused sometimes," Rita said smoothly. "The stroke affected her cognition more than we initially thought. She has these episodes." Mrs. Chen looked between us, uncertainty on her face. I squeezed her hand tighter and kept pointing toward the house, toward Rita, making distressed sounds. "Louise, you're upsetting yourself," Rita said, trying to pull me away. "Let's get you back to bed." But I wouldn't let go of Mrs. Chen's hand. In desperation, I used my finger to trace letters on her palm, HLP. Mrs. Chen's eyes widened. She understood. "Rita, could I speak with you privately for a moment?" Mrs. Chen asked. "Now really isn't a good time." "It's about a casserole I was going to bring over. Just a quick question." Rita hesitated, then smiled. Of course. Louise, I'll be right back. They walked a few feet away, but I could hear their conversation. I know this might sound strange, Mrs. Chin said quietly, but Louise just spelled help on my hand. I've known her for 15 years. Something is very wrong here. Oh dear, Rita sighed sympathetically. I hate to say this, but the cognitive decline has been severe. Yesterday, she was convinced I was her mother. This morning, she accused me of hiding her car keys. But Louise, she can't even drive anymore. The neurologist warned us this might happen. She seems quite alert to me. She has lucid moments, certainly. But overall, she's deteriorating rapidly. In fact, I'm discussing memory care facilities with her son. It's heartbreaking, truly. Mrs. Chin looked back at me uncertainly. I stared at her, pleading with my eyes, and slowly, deliberately, shook my head no. I see, Mrs. Chin said. Well, if there's anything I can do to help. Actually, Mrs. Chin, the doctor has recommended we limit visitors for now. Too much stimulation seems to trigger Louise's confusion. I hope you understand. Of course, Mrs. Chin said, but her eyes met mine one more time before she left, and I saw something there, doubt, suspicion, concern. It wasn't much, but it was something. That night, Rita's phone call was different, more urgent. We might have a problem, she told her partner. The neighbor is getting nosy. I think the old woman tried to tell her something today. We need to move up the timeline. My heart stopped. No, I can't do it tonight. The neighbor will remember she saw Louise today looking fine. If she dies tonight, it'll raise questions. But tomorrow or the next day, I'll do it. And then this whole thing is over. Tomorrow or the next day. I had maybe 48 hours to live. I lay in my bed, mind racing. Sarah wouldn't see my email for 5 more days. Mrs. Chun suspected something, but not enough to call police. I had evidence on my phone, but no way to show it to authorities. I was going to die unless I figured something out. Then I remembered something. Before my stroke, I'd set up a medical alert system, one of those devices you wear around your neck that can call for help. I'd never activated it, never even taken it out of the box. But that box was in my closet. At 3 a.m., while Rita slept, I made my way to my closet. Every sound seemed deafening. I found the box, opened it as quietly as possible, and pulled out the device. But I'd never set it up. I'd never called the company to activate service. The device was useless. I sat on my closet floor and cried silently, clutching a useless piece of plastic that was supposed to save my life. Then I noticed something. The device had a label with a phone number for activation, and a label that said, "Call for help even without activation." It was worth a try. I pressed the button. "Emergency services, what is your location?" A voice immediately said through the speaker. I tried to speak, but only garbled sounds came out. "Hello? Can you hear me? If you can hear me but can't speak, press the button twice." I pressed it twice. "Okay, I'm showing your address as 847 Maple Drive. Is that correct?" Press once for yes, twice for no. I pressed once. "Are you having a medical emergency?" Once for yes, twice for no. I hesitated, then pressed twice. "Are you in danger?" Once for yes. I pressed once. "Is there someone in your home who is threatening you?" Once. "Okay, I'm dispatching police to your location. Stay on the line. Do not disconnect. If you need to hide, press the button once." I pressed once and quickly moved back to my bed, hiding the device under my pillow. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might wake Rita. 10 minutes later, I heard knocking on my front door. Rita's bedroom door opened. "What the hell?" I heard her mutter. More knocking. "Police. Open the door." Rita went downstairs. I heard her open the door. "Officers, is there a problem? It's 3 o'clock in the morning. We received a 911 call from this address. Someone reported being in danger." "That's impossible. It's just me and the woman I care for. She's elderly, had a stroke. She can't even use the phone. We need to check on her. She's sleeping. You'll frighten her. Ma'am, step aside. We're coming in." I heard footsteps on the stairs. 2 police officers appeared in my doorway, Rita behind them looking furious. "Mrs. Mitchell," one officer said gently, "did you call for help?" I nodded vigorously and pointed at Rita, making distressed sounds. "She's confused," Rita said quickly. "She has cognitive issues from the stroke. She probably pressed something accidentally." But I was already reaching under my pillow for the medical alert device, showing it to the officers. Then I reached for my phone on the nightstand. My hands shaking, I managed to open the voice recorder app and hit play. Rita's voice filled the room. "I've already transferred $50,000 from her accounts. Give me another month and she'll be dead from natural causes. Rita's face went white. The officer immediately moved between Rita and me. Ma'am, you need to come with us. That's not, I can explain. You can explain at the station. You're under arrest. As they handcuffed Rita, I managed to hand my phone to the other officer and pantomime taking pictures. He scrolled through my photo gallery and his expression hardened. Call for backup, he told his partner. We need a detective and a forensics team. This is a crime scene. Rita was screaming now as they led her away. She's lying. She's confused. She has dementia. But I wasn't confused, and I had evidence of every crime. The next few hours were chaos. Detectives arrived and took my statement as best they could with yes/no questions and me typing slowly on my phone. They seized Rita's belongings, including the switch medications and her notebook documenting the thefts and poisoning. They called Marcus, who arrived looking bewildered. When they told him what Rita had done, what she'd been planning, he went pale. Mom, I had no idea. I swear I had no idea. But I typed slowly on my phone, showed him Jennifer knew. She wanted me in home. His face crumbled. I'll take care of it. I promise. Over the next few weeks, as I continued my recovery, this time with a legitimate, thoroughly vetted caregiver, the full extent of Rita's crimes came to light. She was Rita Sullivan, and she'd done this before. 3 times before in different states. She'd worked as a caregiver to elderly stroke victims, gained their trust, stolen their money, and in 2 cases, successfully murdered them. Those deaths had been ruled natural causes. No one had suspected, but I had caught her. The audio recordings, the photos, my testimony through writing and yes/no responses built an airtight case. Her partner, her boyfriend Danny Sullivan, was arrested trying to flee to Mexico with $47,000 in cash, my money that Rita had sent him. They found evidence linking them to at least 4 other victims across 3 states. Elderly people who died suddenly while Rita was caring for them, their bank accounts mysteriously emptied before death. The prosecutor called me a hero. The detective said my evidence had not only saved my life, but would bring justice for victims who could no longer speak for themselves. The trial took place 8 months after Rita's arrest. By then, I'd regained most of my speech through intensive therapy. I could walk without a walker. My right arm, while not perfect, was functional. I took the stand and looked Rita in the eyes. You thought I was helpless, I said, my voice clear and strong. You thought because I couldn't speak, I couldn't fight back. But you forgot something important. What's that? Her lawyer asked. My brain worked perfectly. And I've spent 35 years in legal offices learning exactly how to build a case. You picked the wrong victim. Rita was found guilty on all counts: attempted murder, theft, elder abuse, fraud. Combined with the evidence linking her to previous murders, she received life in prison without parole. Danny got 40 years. As for Jennifer, Marcus divorced her. She hadn't been involved in Rita's crimes, but she'd made it clear to Marcus and Rita that she wanted me institutionalized so they could have my house. Marcus was horrified when he learned the truth. I chose my career and my wife over my own mother, he told me through tears one afternoon. I'm so sorry, Mom. I should have been there for you. You're here now, I said. That's what matters. And he was. Marcus took a leave from work and spent 3 months helping me fully recover. We rebuilt our relationship, meal by meal, conversation by conversation. Today, 3 years after that terrible night, I'm 71 years old. I live independently, volunteer at a stroke survivors support group, and work with an organization that trains caregivers and screens for warning signs of elder abuse. I also give talks at police departments and hospitals about recognizing elder exploitation, about believing victims even when they can't easily communicate, about never assuming someone is helpless just because they're temporarily disabled. Because Rita Sullivan taught me something important. Predators count on their victims being too weak, too confused, too isolated to fight back. But I fought back. Even when I couldn't speak, couldn't write clearly, couldn't call for help in the traditional way, I fought back with the only weapons I had: my mind, my determination, and my refusal to be a victim. Rita thought my silence meant I was defeated. She learned that silence can be strategic, and that underestimating a strong woman at any age, in any condition, is always a mistake. My name is Louise Mitchell. I'm 71 years old, and this is my story of survival, of justice, and of proving that we are never as helpless as our abusers believe us to be. If you enjoyed my story, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Tell me in the comments where you're listening from. I love knowing how far these stories of strength and survival reach. And if you or someone you know is being abused, please reach out. Help exists. Justice exists. You are not alone. Thank you for staying with me until the end. God bless you all. And remember, you are stronger than you know.